Okay, so good afternoon everybody and welcome to end of financial year using QuickBooks Online. So obviously with our move to the cloud now and cloud technology, the end of financial year process has become a lot more efficient. We don't have to send backup files to accountants anymore and wait for those backups to come back before we can start processing, so there's no downtime. I was talking to someone the other day about how using MYOB years and years ago, you would need to back up your file on a floppy disk, and the bigger the file, the more floppy disk you are. So if you remember that, if you're as old as me, backing up my onto 5, sometimes up to 10 floppy disks, and then obviously with the introduction of USBs, we only had to put it on one USB, but you still had to send that off to the accountant, wait for that to come back, and you ended up with different copies of different files all over the place, and no one ever really knew what file we were supposed to be using. And then there was the downtime as well, with the days that the accountant would have it doing their work and the journal entries. So it's definitely become a lot more user-friendly, a lot quicker, lots more simplified, that you just invite your accountant or advisor in to the file as an accountant user, and they can just get in at any time and do their transactions. So as a bookkeeper or small business owner, once you let the accountant know that that the file's ready for the end of financial year, they can just log on. You can keep working, doesn't matter, they just log on and do their thing, and everything's done. So it's definitely a lot more efficient. It doesn't matter what time of day anybody's doing anything as well. So obviously using QuickBooks Online means that you don't have to send your data files to the accountant. There's no backups to do. Just invite them in, let them start using it. So I'm just going to take you through my process and hopefully give you a few, just a few tips and tricks as well on just how to make things simpler, especially with QuickBooks Online. The reporting is amazing. The reporting is one of the best features and one of the biggest time-saving features as well. So I'll just show you how you can use those to your advantage. So the first thing I would do is I have this end of financial year checklist. I'm just going to make sure that you can see my screen. Yep. So my end of financial year checklist that I use. So this is just a Word document with a table in it we've created, and this will be made available to you after today as well if you want a copy of it. So I have my checklist that I would work through. So just before I start working with the checklist, I have this ready. Before I start working with the checklist, you could have all of these different tables blank, especially if you're using them for more than one client. So just delete all of the fields in here, have them blank, ready to fill in for each client. I would then go through and create my reports. So there are 5 reports that I would create that I'm going to use throughout my end of year process. So I create those reports first, so then I can just keep going back to them rather than having to keep running them. So if I come into my reports tab, and I'll just point out a little tip for anyone who does have their QBOA accountant who has the QBOA accountant login, you could come up to your toolbox, down to your report tools, and set your date. Set your date to the last financial year, and then majority of the reports that you run will already come up with that date on it. So you could change it from to the last financial year, and whether you're running them on a cash or accrual, and just leave that as it is, and then most of the reports that you run will come with that date. So I'm actually, for today, for the purpose of this, because I do have a new demo file, I'm running it for this financial year. So just this financial year, just so that I do have, I'll just put this financial year today, just so I do have data to show you. I'm going to run it for this financial year. So I'll come to my reports. The 5 reports that I want to run are my profit and loss, my age receivables, actually 6 reports, my profit and loss, my balance sheet, age receivables, age payables, my inventory valuation report if my client's stocking inventory, and then my trial balance as well, just for a record. So to do that, I want to create a group of reports so that then I can just run those 6 reports, create them all, and then every year I go to do my end of financial year. Those reports are already there. They're already set to run for the last financial year, so it doesn't matter when I'm doing it. If I'm doing it, 2016 end of financial year, and I start to run those in December, as long as I've got that date set to last financial year, every time I do them, they'll run in the last financial year. So I'm going to first I'll create my balance sheet. So you can see it's already run for this financial year to date. That's what I've got my date set at for today because I've set those dates. So then what I'm going to do is save that customization, and I can customize this if I wanted to change any fields. Add some more detail in it, I can customize this and then save that customization. But really quickly, I'm just going to save that. So I've got my custom report name and my balance sheet. I'm going to add it to a group, and my group I don't have there yet, so I'm just going to create that, and that's going to be my end of financial year reports, and I'm going to add that group and then save that. So that'll come up next time I add that report. Now I'll come back. Now just another tip, if you've got a client login, you'll have a little search box just above this recommended where you can just search for the report in there that you're looking for. In your accountant login, we have a search box up here, so I can just search in here for the reports that I'm looking for rather than going through all of the reports here. So now I run my profit and loss. And another report I want to save. I've got that. I'm just going to save that customization, add it to my group, my end of financial year group, and save that. Now I want to run my aged payables. Got my aged summary. Most of these as well are on your recommended reports tab. So again, just save that customization, end of financial year. Now I want my aged receivables summary. Save that. My trial balance. Save my end of financial year, and now my inventory valuation summary, and save that. Okay, so they're all my reports. I've saved them. That's it, ready to go. Now, for everything I need to do, it doesn't matter how many times I need to go in and out. I've got all my reports saved. So I can come over to my reports tab, over to my custom reports. Here's my end of financial year reports. I've got all the individual reports already set for the end of financial year. We're just going to pretend, as I said with this one, that these are the end of last financial year. I've got my report group, so end of financial year reports. I can now come over to that line, so you can see it's highlighted, over to the drop down next to edit, and export those as a PDF. So now in just a couple of seconds I have a copy of all of those reports. I can print them out, I can have them up on my other screen if you've got 2 screens. So there's my report. So I've got, just in one PDF, I've got my trial balance, my balance sheet, my age payables, age receivables, profit and loss, and I forgot my inventory value. Did I do my inventory valuation or did I just miss it? I've flicked through too fast. Did I not add it to my group? I'm just going to run that one again. Summary. Probably forgot to save it. I'm going a little too fast. So my inventory valuation to end of financial year and save, and then I can run those again. So I've got all my reports set ready. I don't have to go in and find them each time. They're all with the right dates that I want to run it for. So now what I would do is run my balance sheet again, get my balance sheet, all of my accounts from my balance sheet, and then get my checklist, so my end of financial year checklist, and go through, and I would normally have this on 2 screens, so I'm just going to try and show you. Here. So I take my accounts, from my balance sheet here, and then complete them on my reconciliation checklist here. So my first bank account, so my NAB business account, my savings account, then any credit cards I might have. So they would be down in my, let's open that back up. So my Visa credit card. So you get the idea. So all the accounts that I need to reconcile, I would go through and fill it out on my checklist first. And for the bookkeepers and accountants out there, obviously the more simplified you've got your balance sheet, and the more uniform you can keep them across all your accounts, the easier this becomes. Maybe you do keep it check account 1, 2, and 3, and then have the last 4 digits of each account on all of your balance sheets, so that you just fill in the last 4 digits of the accounts and track them that way. So then we want to make sure that our statement balance, so that we've actually reconciled all of those accounts for the end of the financial year, and that our QuickBooks balance and our statement balance are matching. We've got accounts receivables, accounts payable, so just filling out all of those accounts, work out which bad debts we write off, go through and fill out your end of year checklist, what you want to do from that account. So just running your aged receivables, working out which debts you're going to write off for the end of financial year. If you've got any on your payables, your suppliers that you owe money to that aren't going to be paid, or it should be cleaned out, then you can make the notes on here as well, which ones you're going to write off. Okay. And all this will be detailed in we have the blog at the end of this as well, that you'll be able to take it from. So once you've filled out your checklist, so you've got all your reports, then you want to come to your reconciliation screen to make sure all your accounts are reconciled. So to do that, we come up to our gear icon in the top right hand corner, over to Tools, and then down to Reconcile. And this is where we can reconcile all of our accounts on our balance sheet. So it doesn't just have to be our balance sheet, our bank accounts. Every single account from our balance sheet, so all of our assets, all our liabilities, and all our equity accounts are all listed here, and we can go through and reconcile them exactly the same way we do with a bank account. So just pick up your bank accounts here and make sure that the statement ending date is the last date of the, or that you actually probably at the time that you're doing it in a financial year, you may have already gone past another quarter. So you would just check in your list for the 30th of June, the statement ending date and the statement ending balance. Check on your bank statement. And then what I do with my bank statements is scan a copy, because the accountant will want a copy of the 30th of June bank statement to make sure that the bank statement matches the balance sheet in QuickBooks. So you can scan a copy of all of your bank statements for the 30th of June and put them into your attachments. So you have an attachments tab here. So up on your gear icon, over to your list and down to attachments. So anything that you want to add for the accountant, just drag and drop it into here, into the attachment section, or you can upload it as well, and then save this for the accountant. You can rename this so the accountant can see. So if I will name the file that so that the accountant can see that it's the NAB bank account for the 30th of June for accountant's review, and then they can come in here really quickly and search for that transaction, even in the notes, put a copy of the notes there so that the accountant can see, and then that bank statement is already there for them to find quickly. Also, the other thing you can do is, if you do have a QBOA login, is into your portal and upload that into your documents in there so the accountant can find it in there as well. So you can go through and reconcile each of your accounts through your reconciliation screen. So just go through each one individually, work through your list, make sure it's all done. Then there is also a report that you can grab. Actually, I'm just going to search it from my search box for my reconciliation reports, and then this will run a report on all of the accounts that you have that you've reconciled, what kind of account it is, the statement date, and the last reconciled date, so that you can actually see that that all of your accounts have been reconciled as well, and print out a copy of that report. Okay, just on reconciling your accounts, so just for those of you who may not have done it before, if you come into reconcile, so to your tools and then to reconcile, for each account, you just want to come in select the account you're reconciling, click on the Reconcile Now button, enter your date, so your statement date, so your bank statement date, or if you're reconciling another account on your balance sheet, so maybe your ATO integrated account, you could get the statement ending date from the ATO portal, or from your statement that the ATO sent out. Put the date in that it's for, what your ending balance is, and then go through and obviously if you've got bank feeds working, these will come through and they'll already be reconciled. If you're reconciling other accounts, as in your ATO integrated account, you'll have to go in and physically tick those off and make sure that it's reconciled to the balance. So just accounts, going through reconciling your accounts for year end, all of your credit cards, all of your loan accounts, make sure all of your clearing accounts are at zero, and if not, you know why they're not at zero. Your petty cash, that all of your petty cash has been accounted for, all of your receipts are there, and the money that you have in your tin is reconciled back to your balance sheet. Any undeposited funds, so making sure any undeposited funds that are sitting there are actually not deposited, and that they haven't already been taken to the bank, and cleaning that up, reconciling that. Any suspense accounts, so making sure at the end of the financial year that there are zero balances in your suspense account, and if there isn't, then is that for the accountant's review and let them know. Reconcile any loan and intercompany loans, so review the directors' loans. So if it is a company and you have directors' loans, just go through that, and maybe just alert the accountant or the advisor to that prior to the end of financial year. So maybe start checking that now and seeing what if there is a director's loan account, how high that is, going through the transactions, making sure that they are all actually personal transactions, and then letting the accountant know that there is an amount in the director's loan, and see what they want to do to that prior to 30th of June. If you get to 1st of July and there's amounts in the director's loan, sometimes that's too late. So you want to let the accountant know now that there are amounts in the director's loan and see what they want to do about it. Maybe they'll put some wages through, or it will be dividends and things like that. But yeah, work that out before 30th of June, so there aren't any surprises and big tax bills for the accountant. Okay. So this is all detailed as well in the list. So the intercompany loans, so making sure if there are any intercompany loans on your balance sheet that they actually match to the other company. So if you have access to the other company file, that they balance. So if it's a debit loan on one, then it's a credit loan on the other, and those amounts are actually the same amounts. Making sure your debtors and creditors balance. So we've run our report here for our age payable. So we want to run the age payable and the balance sheet. I'm just going to open up a new window. Another trick as well, especially if you're using two screens, it's really handy sometimes, and now even three screens, handy to have a couple of screens open to run your report. So if you're using Firefox, which is what I use, if you just hold down the Control and hit the refresh button, that will open up a new window, so it's a duplicate. You can update transactions in one screen, come back to the other and refresh it, and both screens will be updated. If you've got an accountant login on your toolbox here, come right down to the bottom to new window. That will open up a new window. And I'm pretty sure in the client's login, if you come up to your gear icon, you have a new window button in here somewhere that you can press to open up a new window, I think. If you're using Chrome, you can right-click on the tab up the top here, and it should have a duplicate tab button that you can just click on, and that'll open up a new window as well. Safari I don't use, so I'm not really sure how, but you'll have a new window, and there'll be a way. You could Google it to find out how, excuse me, how to open up a new window in Safari as well. So it just means you can have all the reports open. You can, if you've got it on two screens, it's really quick and easy. So I've got my age payables here. I'm now just going to run my balance sheet again, and I want to have a look at my age payables. So now I have ran this in cash. So you actually need to have run your, I'm just going to save that back again. Saved your balance sheet as accrual if you want to get the balances up for your accounts payable and receivable. So I check my accounts payable here. I've got 4097. Hopefully it's the same here. Yep, I've got my 4097. So that reconciles, and you know, I'm writing this on my checklist. So I would be writing this on my checklist to say, you know, my age receivables balance is 4097 on my balance sheet, and also in my sub account it's the same. Same as my age payables, which is the one I just did, not the account for age receivables, but I'm sure you get the idea. So my age receivables now is 5456. So have a look at my balance sheet, and that balances as well. I've got my 5646. I run my debtors and my creditors now. After running my debtors report, I want to see if there are any bad debts that I might like to write off. So back to my accounts receivable report. These are my my debtors, and I'm going to say, actually, I'm just going to change the date on this one. Bear with me one sec while I change the date back out to 2015. So I'm going to say this amount for Alex Blakey, the $1,000, we're not going to get that, so I'm going to write it off. So there's two ways that you can do it. There's in your QBOA, and anyone with just a small business log-on won't have this, but you come up to your accountant toolbox and down to write-off invoices. But just with the write-off invoices, just a note that it doesn't update your GST, so it's probably not the best way to write off your invoices. I would use this if I was writing off, like you probably see in different clients' accounts where you've got, you know, 1 cent that's still outstanding, or 5 cents, or, you know, a couple of cents here and there in credit or that they owe. I would use this to come through and write off those little amounts. But if you're writing off your customer invoices as a bad debt, I would actually come into my customer account and do an adjustment note against that. So what I've done in my file is I've actually created an item, because with your customer invoices you have to create a product or a service to be able to invoice out. So I've come in to my products and services, and I've got an account here called bad debts. So I've just created that as a service, and that's going to my my income account for bad debts. So it's actually not an income account, it's my expense account that I've selected there. So then I just come into, when I come in to credit my my account for the bad debt, I will come to my adjustment note. So it's Alex Blakey. I'm going to credit him, you know, 30th of June probably, and my bad debt, and it is his amount is $1,000. So that's my credit. I don't need to put that in as a negative. It's already an adjustment note rather than a tax invoice. So I just save and close that. And now if I have a look back at my age receivables, I've got a credit in here for Alex Blakey. So his account is at 0. So I'll just come in here now to my customers to receive payments. Now, if you've got your settings set up to automatically apply credits, that would have already been 0. It would have applied your credit, and that's just in the settings up here, in the settings, in your company settings, in your advanced. Underneath your automation, you can have it to automatically apply credits. So if I turn that on, I'm not sure if it'll actually do that now. I'll just refresh that. No, you have to have it turned on at the time. So if I had it turned on, it would have applied it. But that's okay, because I want to show you how I do that anyway. So just come in to receive payments, select Alex Blakey. Now, I would suggest if you've got quite a few bad debts to write off, going in and selecting that automatically apply the credit first before you start to do your bad debt adjustment notes, and then that way you don't have to come in and do this. So you just select the invoice, select the credit, and then your amount to credit, that's actually being credited, amount applied is 1,000, and the amount to credit is 0, and amount received is 0. Just save and close that, and then that's taking it off. So yeah, if you've got a few to do, go in and check that automation first, and then you won't have to go in and apply the credit, so just make it a little bit easier. Okay, moving on. I'm running out of time. I've been talking for half an hour already. Okay, so the suppliers we've gone through, so just reconcile your suppliers and do that the same way, exactly the same way. You just come up to your supplier credit, have the checkbox on to automatically apply your credits, and they'll just automatically offset against your oldest invoice. Your obsolete stock. So if you're reconciling your inventory, so again, we run our report. We've got our inventory valuation report. Our stock on hand is 3,477. If we have a look at our balance sheet, our inventory asset account is also 347. So what we do is work out what stock we want to write off. So if we have in our list here, we might have, we've got, say, what have we got? 33 wheelbarrows, but we do a stock count. Maybe we do it, sorry, we do a stock count, and 3 of those wheelbarrows are damaged and we're not going to be able to sell them. So the way I would go in and update those is to come up to my supplier credit. So up to my suppliers and then to supplier credit. So it looks like I'm returning those, that stock. I don't need to put in a supplier name, I'm pretty sure, but that's going to prompt me at the end. I can never remember. So what I want to do here is pick up the items that I want to write off. So I'm going to pick up my wheelbarrow. So there's my wheelbarrows there. Oh, no, they're not. My wheelbarrows, and I'm going to write off 3 of those. So I'm going to return 3. This is a supplier credit. I don't need to put in the negative. And this way, if I'm doing a supplier credit, I'm actually picking up the cost of the price. I could do an invoice and invoice them out and then write them off to obsolete stock, but then it's coming up with the amount that we sell them for rather than our cost. So if I pick it up this way, it's actually picking up our cost of the product rather than what we sell it for. And then what I'm going to do is come up to my account. So what I want to do now is write that off. Now I've created an account in here called write off obsolete stock. So I'm going to pick that up in my account details. So with our supplier invoices and credits, it's a little bit different to our customers where we can have a general ledger transaction and an item and product on the one transaction. So what I'm going to do now is I've got my value, it's $330, and you know, GST or not GST, I'm just going to not go into details for GST today, just showing you how to process it. So now I would pick up the $330, the dollar value of the stock, and write that back. So what we want to do is get a zero invoice. So I'm taking these wheelbarrows out of stock and I'm writing them off at cost to our obsolete stock. So I save and close that. I do have to have a supplier, so I'll just put in, you could just have it, you know, you could have a supplier specifically for that. I'll just select anyone, doesn't matter. And now that will revalue. So you can see now I've got 30 wheelbarrows. The stock value has gone down. If I run my profit and loss report again, my profit and loss, I now have an amount in here. I've probably got one from the other day as well, but here's the credit that I've created today for the $330 for my adjustment. And then it's also reduced that value on our balance sheet as well. Okay. And if I have a look in my inventory asset, you'll see my supplier credits here that are taking off the value of the stock. Okay, so reconciling your super and PAYG, that's just running your reports from your payroll. So depending on what payroll program you're running, if you're using KeyPay, so just coming into your reports, you want to see, and depending on where you're at. So if you've already, you've already finished for June, and you've already paid your PAYG and your super liability, you just want to make sure that those amounts are only what you owe for that month if you're paying monthly, paying quarterly. So just run your reports in your employee tab. I would normally come in and just run my my detailed activity report. So this will give me my PAYG. It'll give me the super liability. So I'll just say financial year. And then just work out whereabouts in your year you are, and check that back to your balance sheet. The other thing that I do in my accounts, it's just a little thing that I do so I know that it's clean, is on my balance sheet I create a so once my year has finished, I create a new account. So I'll have superannuation payable. I'll rename this superannuation payable to, so this is for this year, to 2016, and then my next year's transactions, I'll have a brand new super account for 2017, and then just keep keep on moving between those accounts. So once my 2016 it should be at 0 the next year, then I'd rename that one to 2017 or whatever year you're up to, just so that you can see that you've actually paid out that year, or if there's anything owing. So up till June, if you're not paying that super until July, and some clients maybe even later, then you can see what's sitting in there, and it's really easy to see, and easy for the easy for the accountant to see that as well. Okay, running your profit and loss. So just to check your payroll, so run your profit and loss report. Make sure that your payroll, so your wages amounts, depending on how you have those broken down, you might have a few more accounts that you're breaking those out to different accounts and things like that. So just making sure that your total wages, your total super for the whole year equals the employee detail report. So just reconciling those back as well. Okay, reconciling, whether you're on cash or accrual basis. I won't get into all the detail of that today, just because we don't have time. But again, with the blog that we send out, it'll give you some instructions just on how to reconcile back to your balance sheet, on whether you're, if you're on a cash basis, reconcile your debtors and your creditors back to your balance sheet, or if you're accrual, on how to do that as well. So that'll have some instructions on the handout that we give out. Okay, so your BAS, so reconciling your BAS back, another end of year process, what you want to do is just reconcile back and make sure that all the BASs that you lodged, and again, this is something that you want to do before you lodge your last BAS, so not after the end of the financial year. So sometime within June, before you lodge your last BAS, and then when you do lodge your last BAS, just making sure that you're in July, when you are doing your last BAS in July, making sure that all of the BASs that you lodged still match the GST reports in QuickBooks Online. So I'm just going to find my spreadsheet here. Oops. Bear with me one sec. I'm actually just going to show you from my printout. I'm going to pull my manual over here, my blog, and hope that you can see that. So this is just a bit of a GST reconciliation. This, if you're an ICB member, they have a really good one as well as a resource that you can use, a spreadsheet, and I'm sure ABN have one on theirs as well. It's just really simple. Just go through your BAS portal, get your GST collected, your GST paid, and then run your reports. So your reports in QuickBooks Online, either in your GST tab, just come through and run each report. When it finally comes up, I'll just come back to these ones. So you manage taxes report. Get your BAS summary and just run each one for each quarter. So for each quarter of the, I'll just do this last quarter because of the information that I have in here, and run those and just fill in that report and reconcile it back. Get any differences, and then for your last BAS, you can, if there's any amendments to make, it's just a double check to make sure nothing's been changed. I mean, also in QuickBooks Online, you have your exception detail report. So if anything has been changed when you're after you've lodged BASs, it will come up in your exception detail report, so it's a lot easier to see. You want to review any assets bought and sold. So again, from your balance sheet and your profit and loss, if you've sold any assets, review any assets that have been bought. And then what I do for any of the assets is make sure that there's a copy of the invoice for the asset in QuickBooks Online, again, so that the accountant doesn't need to go looking for it. So here, if I have a look, I've got a motor vehicle here. I would just open up that transaction, and that's actually the year before, but we'll go into that anyway. So just go into that transaction, and it's a journal entry, and you can add a copy of the invoice. So if this was actually the purchase invoice, maybe a copy of the chattel mortgage contract or hire purchase agreement, you could dump that into the attachments here. So the attachments, let's put in, this is add in the attachment, so just drag and drop it. Every transaction that you create within QuickBooks Online, you can add an attachment to. So all the copies of all the assets, any assets bought or sold, you can add all of the detail into the attachments, and then the accountant can find those easy as well. Again, just making everything the process a lot smoother. So any reports that you want to send through, so various types of reports and information should be offered to the client at several points during the year. So again, we're going through in a financial year process, but this process can be done at the end of every quarter. So go through the end of every quarter. You know that saying, a stitch in time saves 9. At the end of every quarter, go through this same process, see if there are any transactions, have a look in your profit and loss, check the director's loan account, run some reports, run some detailed reports. So I could come in to my balance sheet here, I can have a look and see, if I've got a director's loan account, my payroll clearing account, for example, which should be 0, I could come into here and drill down onto that and create my report straight away from that transaction. What I would then do I'd have save this customization. So create a set of reports that I'm going to send through to their client, and then create a set of reports that I want the accountant to review as well. So if this is for my client, I could rename that and say, payroll clearing. Why are there transactions still in the payroll clearing? I know in this case that they just haven't been paid, and then create a new set. So I've got a report set here. So for accountant review, here I could just do for client review, save that, and then I've got a new set of custom reports. And when I'm ready to send or email through that to the client, I could just grab all of those. Did I even save that? I did it again. I'm going way too fast. Let me just click on that again. I'll just do that really quickly. I actually want to add it. That's why it's not working. Add the group. And for those small businesses, you might want to show things to the accountant or your bookkeeper, and I didn't spell that right, but that's fine. And then I'm creating a new report set. So whatever reports I want to send through to the client. So maybe, I'll give them a copy of the profit and loss. I'll get them to check all the sales or the cost of sales and the stock write-offs and things like that. I've got a report set. I can, have as many reports as I like in that and export it to a PDF and then email it out with my notes. I could even create it to a set of management reports and then add my notes in that way as well. And make sure that go through all of your transactions and make sure they all have their attachments to the for the profit, the assets and things. Any transaction, any stock write-offs that you do, you know, you can add your work papers to that, to those write-offs as well. Any stock counts. Okay. So just providing information to the accountant. So as I was saying before, just create another report for the accountant review and then create those reports for them. So if they, you know, not using QuickBooks Online for some silly reason and you need to send the reports, you just create all those report sets again and just send them off to them in one go. The accountant might want to send the end of year adjustments to you so that you do the end of year journal. You know, you've got a copy of that, their journal entry that you can then attach. So if I come into my journal entry to create my end of year adjustment, I can attach a copy of their work papers here as well so that there's a transaction history, always something to refer back to. And then lastly, so we're just on 1/4 now, so I've race through everything really quickly, but just the last thing to talk about is starting or rolling over a new financial year. So obviously when you're ready to start a new financial year, there's no rollover that you need to do, there's no backup that you need to do, you just keep working. So one of the beautiful things about QuickBooks Online and cloud technology is there's no rollover. Your file's never going to get too big that you need to create a new one. Whatever reports you want to run for however many years you want to run them, it'll take exactly the same amount of time to run them from 1 year as it will for 10 years. So yeah, there's no end of year process, there's no rolling over, you don't have to purge any data, the history is always going to be there. So yeah, you don't have to roll over, you don't have to send out copies to the accountant. And once you have rolled over, probably the final thing, once you have once you've entered the accountant's journal entry, so that's probably the last thing. You've done all your reconciliations, the accountant's gone over the file, they've done the end of financial year reports and sent them off to the tax office, and they send through their work papers for you to do the transactions for end of year. Once you've done that, then what you want to do is lock your books, so close them off for the end of the financial year, make sure no one makes any changes. So to do that, you'll just come up to your gear icon, over to your company settings, and then into your advanced, and here you have on your accounting, you have close the books. So you could select close the books here, select your closing date, so if it was last financial year, you can have it so that allow changes after viewing a warning, so it pops up and gives you a warning to say that you're about to make changes in a financial year, or you can set a password as well. So put a password in, and then anyone who has that password can change those transactions. If you've got a QuickBooks Online accountant login, you can come up to your toolbox here, come down to close the books and do it exactly the same way. And that concludes me talking. I'm going to throw over to questions now. So we've got just over 10 minutes for some questions. Hopefully I can answer. It looks like we've got quite a few there, so just bear with me a sec. I'm just going to stop this recording.